Deadlock Fight Night number 20, presented by Intel. I'm ZP here with Dan. And Dan, it has been 20 weeks. Can you believe it? The Deadlock competition, though, continues to get better and better. But man, 20 weeks, it's been a ride.
Yeah, we're growing up. We're growing up alongside these teams, and the storylines are ever evolving. It's honestly so cool to see also the community that's growing with us as well, CP. It's not just us and the teams. The community are coming out in force.
Yeah, and there'll be more on that later. But yeah, it has been a wonderful ride. And you know what? We're just going to get right into it. If you're just tuning in for our 20th show, this is our format here at Deadlock Fight Night. And it's pretty simple. We get the best teams from EU and NA in the Deadlock scene, and we have them fight. In this case, we start off with our best of one challenger match, and the winner goes on to fight the champion. But Dan, it's a little bit unique in the EU case here because Virtus.pro, they were the champions, and they vacated their spot. Virtus.pro had some org stuff going on, but now they're back and ready to prove that they can be champions once more.
Yeah, they abdicated, and the problem is that they are so extremely good. It does feel like we are seeing a truly large gap develop between them and the other EU contenders, which I think is somewhat of a newer occurrence. EU was on parity for ages, so it'd be interesting to see if that's the same story this week. I feel like if I've done anything from Deadlock Fight Night, is that week to week, you should never be certain of what you can expect.
Absolutely. And now heading forward, of course, you might have seen if you're looking closely here. And I'm going to bring in, of course, our analyst. I can't do it with just me and Dan here. We got Jake coming in on the analyst. And Jake, we got something special this week. We got an anonymous donation. The prize pool quite literally doubled.
Yeah, this is just huge to see, the community coming together. That's what Deadlock Fight Night has always been about. But this week we had an anonymous donor. Somebody came in and splashed the cash. $2,000. So each region is now going to be playing for double the cash this week. So you better believe VP is back. You better believe Hydra Nation, he's coming for that cash because double the prize pool, double the excitement.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to me about this too is that I don't necessarily think nerves would play into it for a team like VP, just given their history and everything else. But Jake, from your history in competitive play, do things change a little bit when you go in as like, ooh, this week's worth double?
I mean, certainly the teams are going to know, they're going to be thinking about it and, playing with everything they've got this week. I will say I think a lot of these squads, though, they're probably looking at this game more from a long-term perspective, the same way I think a lot of the community is they're interested in the future of Deadlock, all the growth that's possible, and just how much fun the game is in itself. So I'm not expecting teams like VP or Hydra Nation with how many veteran esports players are on each roster to be too, off their A game because of having more prized to play for, to be honest.
Well, you said the magic word, that is roster, which brings us to our rosters for the matchup here. Virtus.pro, Dan, of course, not much changing for them over many, many months and months of excellence. They had one roster swap back in the Buff and Joyers days where it went from Piggy to Obakim, but other than that, rock solid.
Yeah, it's like, the Hydra Nation of EU, or the, when we go to NA, it's like Hydra Nation is the VP of NA. It's just really interesting how storied all of these names are at this point, and we know exactly what to expect. And it's just pretty difficult to ban out a team like VP because every player is so good. They can go, their hero pool is very deep. So you have to be able to beat them with a really good strategy that's executed super well and strong fundamentals. And I mean, it's not really been the case that people have been able to do it super effectively. And it's hard to even focus on any one individual on this team. Mikhail S is often a player that gets a lot of focus, but I mean, they're just so stacked from just every single position.
And of course, moving along to the Parivision roster, where Jake, there was a change in recent memory here, where at one point you could say Parivision was defined by Play With Me, going all the way back to the DMS days, just a force on Hayes. But Hayes has been out of the meta for a long time, and eventually Parivision decided we need to change things up, and they decide, you know what, Wolfie, you're coming back onto the team.
Yeah, and for Wolfie, despite that being a hard-fought series last week, I felt Wolfie acquitted himself super well, looked like a great addition to the roster, and overall, Parivision felt like a much more flexible team. In the past, I think they had felt a little limited or one note, when their style worked, it worked amazingly well, but some of the top teams had started to read them and started to be able to expect what they're bringing. I think with Wolfie, he played the pocket, he played the 7, he showed a lot of diversity and a lot of skill playing the team fight super well. So I'm really excited to see what Parivision can do this week. It is a little bit tough, though. They are going up against a VP in the challenger match. So still a lot more to see from this team as they grow with the new roster.
Well, one thing we can see that always sets the tone and the tempo here at Deadlock Fight Night, the Mo and Krill 1v1 to decide the draft order, who's going to get first pick, second pick. Do it every week, and here we go. It's on, Dan.
Oh, opening parry.
Wow. Yeah, that's bold.
Oh my God. This is over.
I feel like that. Was that a throw? We're watching.
Have we ever seen 100-0? That's like 100-0. I don't know if we've ever had an absolute flawless knockout like that.
I feel like we have to appeal to the Competitive Integrity Commission here at DFN. That seems sus.
I think bro just got worked over.
Yeah, you just or on the other hand, who won? You just have the I just knew how to press parry every single time at the right time. Just download the opponent before it even began. But yeah, that is actually ridiculous. But that is going to lead us here into the draft, which should be ready. So gonna be VP picking and banning first, I believe, and we'll see if anything has changed for them in their week off.
Yeah, last time we saw them, they were playing a lot of Vindicta. I think was like an opener they went for maybe almost every time that they played, really wanting to put Michaelis on that on the Vindicta and like letting him carry the game and be a huge force to be reckoned with. I think Mo was another big part of their strategy. Just some heroes to highlight. They're gonna opening ban Bebop. Interesting because they played a lot of Bebop themselves as well.
Yeah, I think we've learned a lot about like the Bebop Vindicta interaction. So this is interesting. I feel like with Parivision, you kind of want to. Do they want to ban Vindicta? There's often been an opening pick for VP. So yes, CP.
No. I think the answer is yes, because I think part of the reason why VP banned the Bebop is that Bebop is one of the characters that can give Vindicta more troubles early on. But it's always Mirage still see it as kind of top of the top. That's one thing that really changes in Deadlock, Jake, is Mirage is just top ban, top pick, regardless of era for the most part. But I think here it's got to be Vindicta coming out first for VP, right?
Yeah, likely. I mean, Mirage just has so much potential to be like a late game carry, but it's great CSing in the lane. It's great at like the fighting with some control, and then the global TP is pretty much unique in all of Deadlock. Holiday, okay.
Holiday.
Interesting. That's a pretty significant change up, especially with like somebody like Taz being so insane on Paradox that VP still really value the Holiday. It's because historically you would have think with Michaelis, they would have gone for Paradox a lot of the time. It feels like when they do Holiday, it's not usually Michaelis. It's usually maybe an Obikim sort of support Holiday that they play sometimes.
Paradox for help.
Nice. We have the prevention of a potential double initiation coming out VP. I think the Holiday pick is really nice, especially because it feels like the lasso is so versatile. It's so versatile, especially like later in the game, especially if you're dealing with flyers, that you can deal with pretty much everything. So it makes sense that teams are valuing it that highly. But the lack of Vindicta is interesting. I wonder if this is like one of those week-to-week changes that's being reflected in the meta here. That's something that's a bit hidden to us because we haven't been in the scrims.
Yeah, well, I mean, Seven going to be picked up relatively early, which, I mean, makes sense. I mean, Seven has had really high value across both regions. I'm not too surprised to see it go early. Now, though, Jake, I feel like the question is, we look here at VP, do they go with the Vindicta as one of the next two picks? Because to me, I think about VP's history, I would go like Vindicta Calico here. And that would make a lot of sense. I mean, it's to go along with like kind of the higher valuation of the Holiday.
Yeah, they go with the Calico first, and I wouldn't be surprised if Vindicta followed up. Also, wouldn't be surprised to see some of the heavier control options. Something like an Abrams could be good here, or a Mo Krill to like have some more pressure on the mid lane. Feels like with Bebop banned out, I'm not really sure what the answer to Mo in the mid lane is, with the ability to just constantly shove waves under tower, open the first Guardian a little bit earlier, and then of course the late game pick threat is always nice to have. Good combo for Holiday as well to pull somebody in, and then Mo hits the combo on him. But as you said, ZP, easy call.
It could be kind of interesting if Parivision want to really shake VP off of one of their standard comps. They could try to actually pick something like the Mo and Krill or the Abrams and try to get a ban on one of those frontliners as well. Because VP, I felt like they've been trying to open with the Mo Krill Abrams like pretty consistently in their previous lineups, and it's been pretty good for them.
My bow is yours.
Well, on the other end, Talon can be picked, which again, Talon's been pretty highly valued. The question here is that does either team ban the Mo, just given how valuable Mo has been? Where, bear in mind, between the regions, I mean, while Mo I think has done really well in EU, it has been a little bit more valued on the NA side of things. And I think between the two teams here, if anyone's to potentially ban it, maybe it'd be VP, because VP already has like a key frontliner in Calico, who's also going to be more on the roaming side, so they don't necessarily need to be valuable. But the early ban onto Abrams, I mean, look, it makes sense given what we know Lista can play on the VP side, right? So I do wonder if the counter ban here is like, oh, you're going to take away one of our frontliners. Well, you guys may want to play Mo. We'll take that away from you.
I like the Abrams ban a lot here because I was really worried. Like Abrams with Phantom Strike in the late game for Great Talon or 7 is a huge problem, right? To be able to Phantom Strike on them, pull them in. Like these are not heroes that can really tank that initiation. Like if you get caught like that, you're probably just too far out of position to ever recover. Is going to be the pocket ban, which I also like for like given how much catch and frontline you have, dealing with something like a pocket that is just like that's in your face, but not so vulnerable to being caught. Tracks here. I think that would have been a nice pickup potentially for Parivision, but I would love to see Parivision snag the Mo here. I think that's a great opener. I think it puts them in a strong position in the mid lane, and it denies something that I think VP would also like to have.
Definitely. Ooh, they get Yamato instead. So quick thing about Pocket that got banned. If you guys didn't watch last week where we had the best of 5, Pocket was like, if you picked Pocket, you won. Every single map where Pocket was picked, on that team won. So VP just getting rid of that straight away. It makes sense.
Yeah, the Pocket stocks have gone way up, especially after last week, where it's just like, okay, pick Pocket, win game, and that led to things like the reverse sweep, where Parivision nearly took down 1 win, and 1 win decided we'll play Pocket, we'll win. But okay, Geist coming in, this kind of makes sense again with VP, like where they felt their frontliners. Calico's usually on the higher end, but if they need extra filler, Geist will be what they go for. Theoretically could still fit in the Mo. I mean, they've run as many as 3 in the past. Go something like Mo, maybe round out of a Kelvin if it's still available. So we'll see. It's interesting, Jake, because I feel like the Mo value, he's always looked good when played, but also at times disappears from week to week. But there he is this time.
Yeah, I think it's a great grab for VP. I think it's a nice lane combo for Vindicta if you do want to take it to the mid lane. For Parivision, I'm kind of curious to see who ends up going to the mid lane. Is it going to be Yamato or 7? It could be both of them, but I'd be a little surprised about that. Like, who's going to get, because for me, like, one of the players in the mid lane has a bit of a priority farming position where often we're going to see like the most scaling potential hero be there to be able to capitalize.
So you need a monster hunter.
It's going to be Shiv for Parivision. They could grab Kelvin here, though. This could be a really nice Shiv Kelvin. And then you have a nasty frontline triplet of Yamato, Shiv, and Kelvin right behind them. Paradox there to set up kills. And then you've got monster damage from the backline. I think Kelvin is a really nice finish here. Ivy, I think, could also be an honorable mention, as having that stun could help you break Mo and Krill's combo, and maybe there's a little bit more scaling potential for Ivy. I think that is a little more Parivision's alley. Viscous instead, so still valuing the stun, the save against Mo Krill. Actually, this also makes a lot of sense. The hard save maybe is exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, it definitely gives me a lot more confidence in what Parivision have. I was a little bit worried after that Yamato pick for how they would handle the frontline situation, but we have seen Shiv rising in stocks as well, even without the Kelvin pairing, which was kind of a must-have synergy for a while, at least in the perception of the players. But to like round this out for VP, it looks like we're getting Infernus, which Infernus has been an interesting one because it feels like it's been decent. And we're seeing builds that make more sense, getting Infernus more active in the right pace, in the right timings with the pacing of the game, how it is now. But at the same time, I don't know if I feel like Infernus is an amazing choice. I think it's going to be nice against, a Shiv, for example. I mean, and generally, like, it's good at really burning down those frontliners. So I guess we'll have to see. What's your take on the Infernus?
I think the take is we should have seen it coming, just by virtue of the fact that you think about the hero pool, right? If you don't pick Infernus, what's Zergy got to play here? Like, you needed a Infernus or a Wraith to be picked up in the final spot here with 7 off the board, because, like, would you put Zergy on Mo, Geist, Vindicta, Calco, or Holiday? Probably not. I mean, there's a world where I think Zergy has played Vindicta in the past, but based on VP always putting the KLS on it, you wouldn't, right? So that alone meant that we weren't going to see another support pick here. But it is interesting, Jake, because I feel like slowly but surely, especially in EU, the stocks for Kelvin and Ivy kind of been declining over time.
Yeah, it's curious to see the sports. I mean, for Kelvin in particular to go unpicked, unbanned is really rare historically in DFN, especially where for Parivision. I think it would have maybe favored Parivision, but then they might have lacked a little bit on the pure stun front. And I think Viscous really solves that, adding so much stun in the team fight, right? Being able to chain stun multiple targets and like really help Shiv and Yamato to be overwhelming when they committed on the front line. I think the challenge for Parivision this game is really going to be on Great Talon and Seven to stay out of the fray enough where they can deliver that damage, but that they're not getting burned by Infernus. They're not getting caught by Calico or Holiday. I think if Parivision can maintain that sort of front line taking the aggression with the back line close enough to support, I think they're going to look super strong. However, VP have they have Vindicta, and every single other hero on the team is going to be brawling, is going to be looking for trades, trying to run over their opponents. So honestly, I think a lot of pressure on the Parivision frontliners to be able to hold off against. They're essentially going to be outnumbered when it comes to like a close range engagement, and they're going to need to get ahead, I think, on Seven and Great Talon, and maybe play for picks.
Awesome.
Well, I would say you're waiting for the big dance on it, dude. Yeah, no. It's just like, yes, that is good. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm excited to see this one pan out, especially because, again, this is kind of one of those things where VP had to abdicate, right? Like, usually VP is we got 3 maps to do this, if it comes down to it, or at least, we can give up 2 losses, right, Jake? And you have now the situation where they've kind of voluntarily put themselves in the best of 1 because VP had all the org stuff that was going on last week. It affected them, at Deadlock. It affected them at Rivals. But, it is an interesting spot to be in where normally, over the last few months have been in the defending spot.
Yeah, and this is a team that, is used to being on top. And so, having no margin for error, you can't, you lose one game, you're out of the tournament, and you're playing for $2,000. So definitely a bit of pressure on them. However, I think this is a very comfortable draft for VP. As of late, I feel like they have been drafting these heavier team fight styles and like the late game death ball fights, any kind of like enclosed areas. I'm thinking, something like mid boss or around buffs in jungle rooms. It's going to be really scary with just like the number of close range threats that VP can field. It's essentially everyone except Vindicta. And Parivision go for a second longer range backliner in the form of GT +7. So slightly different takes on the game, but in the end, I think both teams have a good shot of this. I think both teams kind of got generally what they're looking for, so I think we're in for a good match.
I'm worried about the mid lane potential. The Vindicta Mo combo should be really strong. Are they going to go mid lane? No, they're actually splitting them up. I would have expected Vindicta to pair up with the Mo, but it's actually going to be Mo Holiday in the mid lane against Shiv Viscous. Before we let you go, Jake, what do you make of these lanes?
I think the Shiv Viscous is actually potentially pretty sick. Both of these heroes have a lot of damage that they can punish Mo with his huge hitbox. So maybe that's the thought here, is that, okay, they knew that they were going to be going up against a Mo and they wanted to just all in prioritize fighting that. I'm really curious to see how this matchup plays out. And the metagame is continuing to shift in these mid lanes with teams getting deeper and deeper to the matchup. Shiv, though, already struggling, so it's not going to be easy until he gets a few items online.
Yeah, you think about this idea of Shiv being super tanky, but in the very beginning of the game, not quite as much as it is later in the game. And it's already come to a position here, Dan, where you have to play a little bit more defensive from the get-go. So, already Parivision getting tested in the middle.
Yeah, I'd be curious what kind of build we see out of the Shiv. Whether we see something that's more, bleed-oriented, or, how that might end up looking. And how that's also going to help deal with this mid lane. We've highlighted the significance of winning this mid lane battle so many times just because of the positional rewards that you get if you're able to take down your opponent's Guardian early on. It just gives you a huge edge on the opponent's jungle. You get to start the initiations, you get to start ganking. Whoever gets that first Guardian, especially if it's a middle one, it gets a huge edge.
Yeah, I mean, there's a middle to look at, but also the left lane is really interesting too, because a lot of mid-game power into late-game power for VP is kind of being put onto the left lane here, right? But being up against Paradox and Grey Talon, I mean, that's a fairly brutal lane. It's where Parivision can really hurt VP a little bit, get ahead in the game potentially based on how that lane goes down. So, for me, I'm looking more at left lane, and I'm looking, of course, at middle, because middle just nowadays does dictate a lot of the flow of the game based on who wins it.
And one extra point too about this left lane with the Great Talon Vindicta matchup, I believe it was when we had Deathy on as a guest analyst on the last broadcast last week, where he was kind of saying that some teams try to avoid having GT on the same lane as the enemy Vindicta, just because of just how those matchups can go. And for good or for better or for worse, that's what we've got there. We've got that matchup on the left lane.
I mean, I think given that you're back here at the Paradox, especially once ults come online, I actually think that lane is pretty difficult for Michaelis. Like, overall, I think you'd rather have your Vindicta in the middle lane. I kind of get why they didn't go for it in this instance with the comp that they have, but yeah, I mean, it's what makes the left lane interesting to me here, especially once you hit that 3K moment. Because right now, you look at the overall course of the game, things are stabilized, right? Like Together, you know, didn't get pushed out of the lane. Overall economy relatively even, but you know, all it takes, Dan, is like just one big moment, you know, especially between the left and the middle lane here, to create an opportunity for one of these teams.
Absolutely. We'll see if that moment comes to pass anytime soon. Both teams have been fairly passive to start things off. Sometimes, you know, you don't know what you're going to get at the beginning of these games. Sometimes we get it to be quite aggressive, and there's kills traded out in the first minute. But so far, I've got a slower start to things. I'm really curious how that mid lane is going to turn out. And it looks like the far right lane that we're on at the moment, we're seeing that a pretty good start here in terms of just the pushing is definitely much more favored towards VP, which is expected. You got the Calico there, like a deny machine, a survival machine. And on top of that, you've also got, you know, your guys there as support. But with that said, Stevie, they push up and they get wrecked. So what do I know?
Yeah, I mean, they push up a little bit too far. And look, feeding the 7 Yamato lane, not necessarily ideal. It's going to slow down the Calico's ability to roam. And if you're Parivision, you're pretty happy with that early engage. Also, you know, kind of interesting itemization-wise, despite being in a lane that's just like a whole lot of spirit damage early on. Michaela's still going, you know what? I'm just gonna go early combat barrier. Just less poke damage in at me, more actual damage from me back at you on the bullet end. So a little bit interesting itemization. But overall, you look at the lanes, it has been VP pushing up more. It just kind of bit them a little bit on right lane, where now the tempo shades entirely. But we got a combo here in place with a quick pick off by Dmov right after.
Yeah, the potential for chain lockdown is pretty nasty from VP. You got the combo, you got the lasso, you got the stake as well from Vindicta. So pretty dangerous stuff. And what's also pretty dangerous here as well is the Mo. Just the Mo in general, such a presence in that mid. Oh, but here we go. We got Viscous able to find his way around there. Taz using the goo there to try to get some additional damage to splatter. I don't know that they're connected.
I don't think it did. I think it may have missed there, because if it did connect, then Mo just barely lived. In any case, really close from Parivision on the chase down. And you know, with ults and Frey, every lane right now can be pretty explosive.
One thing that's interesting too, I know it's kind of sad for Parivision that they didn't end up getting the secure on the Mo, especially, you know, getting that Yamato in on the comp. Is conversely, they don't have much lockdown compared with VP that have ample lockdown. So that might be a challenge to get that Yamato going on some of those ganks. We'll have to see how they manage to handle it.
Well, right now, things calming down a little bit. Still 24K to 24K. The right lane, despite the early kill, nothing too much happening there, but okay, in the middle. See how this goes. Mo decides, hey, I might be low, but I'm gonna go for the combo, but the Viscous, they're immediately on the cube save, and is Mo gonna give his life for that? No, not quite. Again, very close though, very back and forth. Dmov though, taking them together after all. Meanwhile, we got Owl in play, a little bit of revenge from another lane.
Intercontinental Ballistic Owl on the way, and this is why Great Talon is so nice, especially in the early laning phase. And off the rope though, we got Together back in action here, maybe able to get a potential follow-up, but no, it looks like there's nothing to grab. So lanes will be reset a little bit. And speaking of which, looking at the soul count for both teams, it's even. Spoiler alert, pretty much even at this point in time. So no major edges to really be speaking of. And I don't know that we're really seeing too much tower damage. It looks like VP's towers are much more pristine in comparison to Parivision, but another engage here. Nice. Off of the burrow, gonna get a kill, and the shotgun damage on the tower is pretty devastating. And that's another reason I think CP was seeing Mo get a lot more value.
Well, Mo also, the sustain in lane is just able to be more aggressive, so you can be in the lane more, you can get the lane pushed more, and you can do this to the middle guardian more effectively. If they get this middle guardian down without Viscous being able to come back in time, it's going to be deadly. Now, I do think Viscous is going to come back in. They're going to be able to delay it, but it's still really good damage onto the middle tower.
Ooh. Oh my goodness, I was going to say. We did switch over to me, it's got 1 HP. I'm wondering what's going to happen there, but all right. So VP still, again, just looking really good, just on the overall offensive across the map. And another engage here. Oh, nice damage done there by Dimov. Or rather, sorry, by Listic.
There's still a Locket at play. I don't know if, yeah, Locket still has charges here, so the Yamato not quite as low as you might think, but just decides popping away is going. It's like, you know what? I actually could die for a little bit of poke damage here. Maybe, you know, just going for prudence. But, you know, still overall, even when you look at economy allocation right now, Dan, very, very even. But I think the real storyline is Guardian HP and the fact that middle Guardian is real close to the end here, unless there's a rotation soon.
And something I love about how a Deadlock has developed, now that we have this 3-lane Deadlock, the Guardians are much more important. So teams are sort of indexing their randomization also a little bit more towards sustain, like the Locket pickup especially as well, just so you can make sure you're not off of lane. Because if you're off of lane, these shotguns get in and they do significant damage to the towers. You can't afford to lose them. In goes the Mo. Burrow as well. Lasso combo. Combo kill. Oh, combo is actually available. There it is. Pulls in the Shiv. That is a lot of damage there on Together. Is he going to be able to escape this one? Oh, there is the stuns coming in, though, from the Google. And it looks like he won't escape. And it's going to be a great pickup here for VP.
Yeah, this is hey, look, he's taking cover in the bunker, but the bunker is busted. Prestis with the owl from afar. Oh, man, the value of Gray Talent to really just help keep some of these lanes even. Pretty effective, but Dan, I do believe this Guardian's about to fall.
Yeah, a couple kills going away of VP. And indeed, that mid Guardian is very low at this point. Parivision, I don't know they'll be able to stop that from going down. And we'll have to see what hell is unleashed after that, but the map control goes the way of VP. Here we go. There it is.
And now with middle Guardian down, you have to really look at what's going to happen on the jungle side here. Is, you know, again, Mo, 15 seconds away for our combo. Just getting in the face of Shiv here. Shiv already getting pretty low. And, you know, again, this is a case where it's Together even going to be able to get out. And maybe he does, but as Together gets out, you see the pressure going on the Viscous, trying to save Together, doesn't save Together, and nearly dies in turn himself. So, again, the middle lane, really just a problem. The Mo Holiday connection being really effective. And, you know, at 10 minutes here, as task goes down, great opportunity here, I think, bringing Jake. And, you know, Jake, you're watching this middle lane battle. What do you got for us?
It's not much of a battle right now, ZP. I mean, I feel like this is being just run over here by Obakin and Dimov. The combo, those double stuns, is overwhelming. Yamato ulting here, able to get some trades, and I think Wolfie is kind of having the best game for the team right now on Yamato. Seems to be a key difference maker, but being potentially overwhelmed by just how well VP is doing across the map.
Well, looking back here on the right lane, and death is coming from Yamato. All ends, uses the Locket in the middle. Just trying to buy a little bit of time for reinforcements to come in. Damage here onto the Calico, going for the power slash. Still under pressure on all sides, and it's Obakim making sure he falls. Meanwhile, Owl over and in, does not finish off the Calico. Super close, but Sharik will live to tell the tale.
Yeah, this is that chaos we're talking about. Like, after that mid lane, your heroes are freed up, so you start roaming, and there's a result. Wolfie going down under the tower. 7 back on the lane, but look at the damage coming out here. That's another Guardian going down. Oh no, run out bullets. There we go. We're fine. Everything's fine. Not panicking. I know it's just me, but
you know, it's Mo's body taking damage there, just waiting for Krill to reload. At some point, you know, I feel like Mo himself is not happy with the treatment. But you think about the chain of events there, right? You get middle, and then you just leave Dimov in middle and go, hey Mo, do a little bit of roaming. And you've turned your 1 Guardian lead into a 2 Guardian lead, just like that. And already just sees Tass in the jungle, a little bit of lasso play, grabs him over. Now, is anyone coming in to help this year? Right now, it just looks like the D-Mob solo show versus the Viscous. A little bit of puddle punch movement off and away. And Taz is going to get away. But while this is going on here, Dan, other side, Mikhail racking it up.
Yeah, and this is really rough for Parivision. They were trying to sneak that urn across, but the lasso really creates some problems. And nice Owl's gonna do some damage, but still, it looks like they'll be able to pick up that urn. And I don't know that there's too much on the right lane to stop this this collection. I mean, there's a couple players now coming off of the spawn ropes and trying to get their way to that urn deposit spot, but it's looking kind of sketchy. Full control for VP around this point. So I don't know.
Jay was just looking for a swap. Off the go here, doesn't find it immediately. Now under pressure on the Paradox, just melting from the Crows, melting from pressure all around. Can't find the opportunity for the swap. Just didn't see the early opening, and now VP up 1, looking for more. Yamato in their sights. They force out the Shadow transformation, and yeah, Wolfie might have a locket in store, but Mikhail snipes down Prestus. A 2-man advantage right now for VP, and they continue to move forward. Yamato under pressure on all ends, tries to finish off at least one, can't even do that. As VP get the earn turn in, a whole bunch of kills, and now, Dan, a true lead has opened up.
Yeah, and this is all value that was precipitated from that mid Guardian pickup, and that led into the Mo and Krill gank onto the right lane. They got that second Guardian down, and now they've just controlled the pace of the game ever since that point, and now a almost 20k difference has revealed itself. So where is the recovery for Parivision? It's going to be rather difficult to find it, because again, the roaming threat that VP have, and they're deep in the jungle, in the mid right now for Parivision side of things, so they've got to be so careful.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem, right? It's more so at this point in the game, how do you defend your jungle if you're Parivision? And you see here, Yamato going in being like, hey, this is supposed to be my vaults, but getting forced out. You know, this is your jungle, your double vaults, and all right, we get a quick pause. And this is the real collateral damage, though, that you take. And, you know, good opportunity to bring Jake back in. And, you know, Jake, you lose the early Guardians, and you just see your jungle also get laid siege.
Yeah, VP has just been running the full court press right now. I think Yamato in a lot of trouble as well on the flank. Got comboed. Maybe an overextension from Mo Krill, but I mean, he's so tanky and confident right now. He's pushing continuously in with the help of the squad, and now Sharik gonna get this cleanup almost assuredly. And it's just going incredibly well across the map. VP fighting in small groups and just consistently outnumbering, outplaying Parivision, who are frankly falling apart here.
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of start from mid lane, Dan, and you think back to the draft. What did VP decide the value? They're going to value Holiday, where even though Holiday has gotten nerfed in recent memory and her stock went down for a few weeks, stock is all the way back up. And when you look at how the mid lane went down here, you know, it's not hard to see why.
Yeah, Holiday has insane kit, and especially the synergies with Mo, who's also an insane laner with really good kit. It's very oppressive, very tanky. It's really enabled them to take the lead here early on, and they're so good at compounding the advantages. Again, they're not allowing Parivision to breathe here. Parivision can't really farm their jungle.
No
and
way.
that first mid tower went down. Look at this pressure coming in. Ooh. Nice. That's a good trade back at least. Here, just like reclaim your own territory, but that should be the minimum.
That's kind of one of the movie cool guy shots there, where, you know, you shoot the shot and then look away, and it just works. that was Saf there with that ball onto the KLS. So, small victories here, but oh my goodness, D-Mob just keeps running around and being a terror on this Holiday. You win the early lane, and I mean, look, for someone made a goo, the ropes have been binding real tight, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. It does. I mean, the lasso, I was talking about it in the draft as well. It's so good. It's one of the best like lockdowns in the game because of how you can reposition the opponent and put him into like a very unfavorable spot. So versatile. And now we get the run across the map here from Parivision to try to get some value back with the urn. And just look how deep VP are. They are so happy to contest this.
Not only that, but I mean, their level of difference on economy now is so severe that, you know, someone like Obikin, right, can move in, drop the combo, and you're not gonna be able to burst the Mo down before whoever's getting comboed is dead. I mean, look at this absolute unit, 2,900 HP at 16 minutes in. It's not Mo that's dying anytime soon. Tass, a little bit disruption here on the goo ball, looking to make any opportunities for Parivision right now. Over, looking, Zergy meanwhile just gonna get Prestus into the back line. The combo coming on in, and Virtus.pro not really stopping. However, together, chains together too. Potential opportunity here for Parivision. Still a lot healthy on Virtus.pro though right now though, Dan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, a couple kills going the way of Emov, and they're going to get the urn as well. So cleaning up house. That's destruction there from VP onto Parivision. And man, there's not even, there's like one walker left at this point, and there's so much jungle left on the map. It's unbelievable how much value VP can just go to expand their lead even further.
Also, we've seen D-Mob have a lot of good games, but this may be one of the most one-sided games we've seen in terms of D-Mob leading the way. I mean, it has been nothing but Holiday from the middle lane, and it just continues to go forward lane after lane right now, Dan.
Yeah, Demov's Holiday has been amazing, and it's really cool to see as well because, yeah, another hero I associate Demov with really is like a Geist, where, you know, you see really good performances there, but But seeing some of the shenanigans we've seen out of Demov, the movement, the in-fight decision-making, this really leveraging all of Holiday's strengths effectively, you're seeing Demov like play Holiday to a really high level right now. So it's no surprise to see a performance like this. And it doesn't really feel like there's anything that's left to be done here by Parivision. They're so far behind. They're up against the Reach. They're trying to fight as best as they can here. They'll take down Demov, who was a little bit extended, but the real danger for Parivision is this Walker on the right lane that's under threat now.
Yeah, also losing Saf there is not great. I mean, the one bright spot, I mean, I think ideally they'd rather have Wolfie have the 20K than Saf, but, you know, Saf is farmed enough to be a threat to anyone VP, but everyone else, I mean, they may as well be made of paper at the moment, which means that they have to have, like, very sneaky engages. But VP is the team that picked the comp that has better pickoff tools on the whole, between the Lasso and the Mo, right? And of course, the Vindicta for pickoffs. I mean, VP is right the team that the team comp you would want to have if you're trying to come from behind, let alone where Parivision is at, where they have to come from behind and still deal with the pick threats of VP. It is nothing but brutal right now, Dan.
Dude, Obi Kim has almost 4,000 health right now. He's got 3,700 health, I think I saw. That's insane. At 18 minutes, that's crazy. And
also, I just think we've hit the point where Demov is just like, Lasso's on cooldown, or off cooldown. I'm just gonna run down a lane and see what I get. Like, Demov has just been freestyling this entire time at Holiday to just fantastic results at this point. And look, when you're this far ahead, Dan, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, and also like the Veil Walker pickup, I don't know if that's like standard to get, but like there are some items that you get if like you are so far ahead, you can get it at like actually kind of a sick timing. And Veil Walker got changed to like what, 6K? I think, or it used to be a lot cheaper.
It got expensive. It used to be one of the cheapest items in the game and grossly overpowered to arguably, you know, a little bit undertuned right now. But hey, I do think if you're ahead, to your point, still makes some sense.
And it makes the jungle gang so dangerous because you come out of the Veil with obviously like the boosted shield and armor, and it's like, oh, okay, this is, you're like really tanky, and then you're able to lasso someone forward, and of course you get sort of that speed boost as well, so it's like actually really nice for those gangs.
Look at the impact of Demov here. 9, 1, and 7. So it's not just high last blows or killing blows here. It's also high assists. I mean, the only other person with more assists really is Obikim, who's also been in on it. But these were both your mid laners, Dan, where they win mid lane and they just overflow to the other lanes and be a threat the rest of the game. And as a result, you have VP with just absolutely ridiculous lead. A little bit of fighting here over the buff, but also, yeah, we've kind of mentioned health-wise. The health on average for VP and how they've been building, you know, more on the tanky end is also kind of ridiculous. No one's an easy kill for VP right now.
And you can see that VP, for the most part, they're not even really bothering with their own jungle by design because they don't need to. They got a big lead. They've eaten their opponent's jungle, and they're putting all the pressure on their opponent's jungle all the time. So they will get ahead via the opponent's jungle. Any kills they will get, and Parivision can just never get anything at all.
Demov's fishing again. Look at the mini map. You just see Demov out looking for anyone. Got an owl coming in. But the owl at this point, I mean, it's a 16K Talon. You know, it's like a light breeze. It's not the threat it was early in the game. And here, goes for the Urn turn in, gets puddle punched off in turn. Urn still available. Shriek, though, diving on in. Mikhail and Demov firing in return. It's a clean sweep here, Dan. It is an absolute rout coming on in. And, you know, Jake, you've been watching this carnage. Can Parivision do anything at this point?
I think it's over here. I mean, VP, this is just clinical from them when they have the lead at this position. You know, they're so good at, as you mentioned, eating the opponent's jungle, doing urns. They really never back to their side of the map where they could go do their own jungle here, but I think it's smarter to just make sure there's no opportunity for Parivision to even see what's going on in the map, to even come out and scout creeps, do boxes. Like any little scraps on the map are going to come at the cost of heroes' lives. We got a DC from Parivision. They're going to pause and go for this like one final fight. But this is a 50K lead. I mean, VP, we talked about the focus and the seriousness with which you got to play with double the prize pool online, and VP are delivering just exactly that today.
Yeah, I mean, this is, it's one side and then some as soon as we got out of the laning phase. Saint is back in, but I think, again, it'd be safe to say here, Dan, that this would be the greatest comeback in Deadlock history if Parivision somehow brought this one back, but you know, I don't even think Doctor Strange is seeing a way back in on this one. You know, it's not even 1 in 14 million.
Yeah, it's not really looking possible. Ever since that mid tower went down, it's been just unstoppable pressure. And it really feels like VP is the team that in this game right now in the world is the best fundamentally. They engineer a lead, they try to play that slot perfectly or as perfect as it can be played, and then every advantage that they get, they just don't let up. And I like how they're showing us how you can play this game where you just won't let your opponents breathe if you have those advantages. I'm curious if anyone will be able to stop them. Obviously, assuming Parivision aren't able to recover here, which seems like the most sane thing to say, that they won't recover. We'll have to see if OneWin can do any better.
Well, take a look here. Let's see if we see who this owl hits. Like, maybe it's about to hit the Calico, and no, just they use it for lane control. And I don't know. It's just overall, it's like, what's your ideal engage here? You get a swap, right? Which they did just go for a swap. Maybe they get a kill off it. We'll see. Power slash in, and it just tickles Mo. It just, gives him a little bit of a back scratch there, Dan. Doesn't do anything. Not where Yamato wants to be at this point in the game. Sharik with 2 here so far. Down goes Yamato, and we've just hit the point where the stat check is way too severe. Parivision cannot do anything, and this will be the end, and VP getting their way back into the money match, or the super money match, as it were. $2,000 on the line here this week to celebrate DFN number 20, and VP once again showing why they have been the team to beat in EU.
Virtus.pro, they abdicated, but they're back on the journey to retake the title here today. OneWin will be the next team up to potentially try to stop them, but they don't look all that stoppable at the moment. Perfect fundamentals, incredible early game, and they just compounded those advantages non-stop. And it's actually quite scary, and I'm like scratching my head, just trying to figure out, how do you get the better of VP at this point when they're so good?
Well, I think the key for me, as we bring Jake back in here, is the idea that they also adapt their strategies, where this is a team where they were picking Vindicta first for a long time. And Jake, they said here, we like Vindicta a whole lot, but the holiday was more important, and they immediately showed us why.
Yeah, I think something that we've seen consistently from VP is that, even, weeks and weeks ago, it was kind of a hallmark of their style to play a really heavy brawling setup with like a lot more frontliners than other teams, a lot more emphasis on the early game and the team fighting. And where, for a couple weeks there, they were playing a little bit more of a slow game and playing for late game. Now it feels like they've really taken something that OneWin demonstrated a few weeks ago in terms of being super aggressive, taking the fight into the jungle very early, and they've kind of made it their own. And they're the ones now seizing the tempo. I mean, this was a match in which Parivision never got a flex slot. Like, that's an utter beatdown in Deadlock. They couldn't even get the second Guardian down. And at some point with a team like VP, it just feels like the game's already over, because VP, if they've already done all these difficult things, they're not going to make the easy mistake. Once they have a lead like that, they've just got you dead to rights. And for a team like OneWin watching that, you got to take a little gulp and think about, okay, like, we might be the champion right now, but it's certainly feeling like the challenger has come to play.
Well, of course, speaking of challengers and speaking of stories here, we got our player of the match presented by Intel. And of course, that is going to be D-Mov. Dan, I mean, I don't think we could have picked anyone else.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in that middle lane, one of the most important positions in the early game. And then you got Mo next to you as well. You got 2 characters with great lockdown. The synergy there was really fantastic. And it's about how D-Mov played it, though. It's really finding really impeccable moments and timings to get that aggressive lasso, pull the player in, get it followed up by the Mo, just really setting up everything up with those initiations, because it's a lot easier to connect that lasso than it is the combo. And so with that early lane dominance, you've then got the strategy switching into mega pressure into these lanes. Here's another catch that you can see off of the lasso. So great reads of the map, great understanding of like where to be and when to try to max the value out of this holiday.
Yeah, I feel, the holiday is a key pick right now. We have seen Paradoxes go toe-to-toe, but this game, with how explosive the early lead was and just how much the pressure was on, like, I love the Veilwalker build this game from D-Mob. Like, I think that's very unconventional, and most games you won't see it built. But with this kind of a massive lead, the ability to constantly reset your shields and then to just play an incredibly high tempo style. He also goes like upgraded cooldown quite early. And so he's just able to go for attempts on pickoffs like every 30 seconds. There's no room to breathe. There's no room where, oh, like his ult's down, we can go look for something. I mean, you have 30 seconds to make a play for Parivision, and he's just going to come back for more. And I think D-Mob, recognizing the lead, keeping the pressure on, this has been the thing that VP in the last couple weeks we've seen them has just leveled up and leveled up and leveled up and been able to take it to, well, any opponent so far. And now when you look at performances like this and it's like, man, how do you approach the draft, you guys? Like, I'm curious what you guys think. What do you think is the key factor? In past weeks, we would have said the Vindicta. Now, is it the Holiday? Is it the Mo Krill?
I think it was a combination of both the Holiday and the Mo, right? It's the fact that you were able to put together a middle lane that was incredibly durable, able to minimize the amount of backing out they had to do, and still had really big kill potential, which is why I think Mo really does give you such a huge advantage in that part of the game, because you're getting a hero that is really hard to push out, can survive for a long time just by the survivability of Scorn, and if you make any misstep in lane, you're going to be getting the fists, and you're going to be getting taken out immediately, which means you're going to be losing progress on your middle Guardian, right? So overall, I think as good as we talked about the Holiday and as good as Dimov was, I still think that the carry there, Dan, was the Mo.
I agree with that. I think also because Mo, if you're getting a lead, Mo can be kind of scary because Mo's going to be actually keeping up on the souls, so he's going to be able to inflate his health pool a lot quicker. Like Holiday is going to be someone that's easier to also take down at the very least, but I feel like Mo is such an impressive frontline that if you have a successful mid lane with the Mo in it, Mo's going to come away pretty strong, and those follow-up ganks are going to be even more scary because Mo can tank so much. So it's kind of hard to decide between them, but I think I'm leaning towards the Mo being the more important ban of the two.
You know, one thing I think we've seen developing in the mid lane right now, especially with how Mo is as like an example of this, is incredibly strong, is just heroes that can be dominant from like minute zero, that like roll out into the lane and are already starting to pressure you and are already trying to generate that first little advantage that they can then eventually snowball and snowball and snowball and start ganking the world like we saw in that last game. And so Bebop has been that, as in like the hook level 1 is like potentially good enough to really threaten Mo, pulling him under tower. Even Mo can't really confidently tank through that. But so far, like, I mean, I thought Shiv, Viscus, maybe like potentially, you know, when they get a couple levels online, maybe that they could start to pressure the Mo. But this game, we didn't feel it. It felt like he was able to endure all that pressure. And then obviously Holiday is another fantastic lane pressure hero, especially in the hands of Dimov.
All right, well, it's Virtus.pro once again getting themselves into the money match, boosted the $2,000 from a donation from the community. Thank you so much, of course, for that donation. But now we'll get to see, will VP be able to take down one win and reclaim the throne that they abdicated? Only one way to find out, and that's to stick with us here after the break.